Well, good afternoon. Hope you're having a great week. Is it Wednesday or Thursday? It is Wednesday, April 16th. Well, that's 5:18 p.m. It's 3:18 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, local time, just south of Portland. I don't know what town I'm technically in. I'm at a Flying J truck stop south of Portland. I think might be Wilsonville. So I'm just going to be ranting because right now I've got a whole bunch of stuff going on and I'm just ticked off. This is just the drama that you deal with in this industry. So let me try to sum up the story as to what's going on. So I got a load alert for a $13,400 load. 13,500 load is a round trip load going from Portland to San Antonio back to Portland. But it had a huge, it picks up April 23rd and then it comes back to Portland on May 6th. So that's I don't even know how long that is, 2.5 weeks. It might even be 3 weeks. It's somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks that you're on the load. And I don't get the full 13.4. Let me pause this. I got a phone call coming in. I should have unpaused the video for that phone call. So I actually have history with this woman, and I should have just not even booked the load in the first place. So this is the CIF agency, and this is Kelly Rogers. The last load that I did for them was a load from somewhere up around Seattle. I forget the name of the town. It wasn't even close to Seattle. It was somewhere in central Washington. It might have been central Oregon. I think it was central Washington. But it was a load for the Department of Energy going to Blackwell, Oklahoma. And I showed up there and they told me that I had to assist with loading the trailer. I had to load the trailer, and they told me I had to unload it at the delivery. And so I called up Kelly. I didn't think this was going to be any big deal. I was willing to do the load and unload, but I wanted to get paid for it. And she went off on me and told me that they do these loads all the time. It's not a driver load. It's not a driver unload, and they're not going to pay me. She called me a liar. And she argued with me the entire load. And when I got to the delivery location, I told them that I'm not delivering this load unless you pay me. I'm not going to unload it. She refused. I went ahead and loaded it, and she refused to pay me load pay, and then she refused to pay me unload pay. And I said, all right, when I get to Blackwell, have somebody else show up to unload it. If you're not going to pay me, then I'm not going to unload it. And then they eventually paid me to do the load and the unload, right the day that I arrived in Oklahoma. So I had a huge problem with Kelly before, and she's an absolute nightmare to deal with. She is extremely rude. I would have let you hear the phone call, but I'm afraid that I don't edit videos, and I'm afraid that she's going to say some personal information, or I'm going to say some personal information. And if any personal information gets said, then I just delete the video. So she called me back because I told her she sent me an email. Actually, she tried to call me, and I was on the phone with the fire department, so I didn't answer the phone because I waited 30 minutes to get a hold of somebody on the fire department. And she, you know what? I'm going to send an email to Landstar Safety. We'll get to that in a second. But anyway, I missed her call, and I tried calling her back, and it just goes straight to voicemail. Their number, it goes straight to voicemail. She's left for the day, and they shut their phones down. So I sent her an email, and I said, hey, I might need to cancel the load. You can call me now. I'm off the phone. And that's what the phone call was. She just called me. And I told her, that I might need to cancel the load. I said I'm waiting on a phone call back from the fire department. And she said, why? And I said, well, it's not legal to do a pickup or delivery at this location. Their dock is only 30 feet from the street, and it's only 50. It's 63 feet from their dock all the way to the other side of the street, the curb across, and it has parking spots up and down the street. If a car is parked along the street, then it's only 50 feet. So it's impossible to get a trailer in there if a car is parked along the street. And if a car is not parked along the street, I have a 70-foot vehicle. The tractor trailer altogether is about 70 feet. This is her calling again. I'm going to let you hear it this time. Hello. Kelly. That is absolutely awesome, and that would have been perfectly fine. I told you I was waiting on a call from the fire department to verify that it was legal. But because of your attitude, I do not want to do business with you. If you're going to be threatening toward me, you threaten to report me to corporate? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fine. I don't want to argue with you, Kelly. The customer didn't tell me that they had a letter from the city. The customer told me that the fire department was going to tell me that it wasn't legal. So I don't know why you're saying that they have a letter from the city now. Okay. All right, this phone call is completely unnecessary, and you're just arguing at this point. I don't want to argue with you. All right, this is agency number 2 that I blacklisted. She called me for no other reason than to just sit there and tell me that I was wrong about everything. What she's claiming right now is that the business has a letter from the city that states that they can block the road. I spoke with 2 people at the business and told them that I have to block the road to back in there, and I don't think it's legal. And I told them I'm going to check with the fire department. Neither of them mentioned that they have any kind of anything from the city. She's just making shit up. And also, she said that the driver that has done this load in the past has to remove a stop sign to be able to back into this place. There's a stop sign that you can pull out of the ground and set over to the side to be able to back into this place. Like I said, I've dealt with Kelly in the past, and she spews this nonsense. Like last time, I told you last time, the last load I delivered for her, she said, we do this load all the time. It's not a driver load. It's not a driver unload. The customer told me that every time they've ever done this load, the driver loaded and unloaded. So Kelly is just an extremely confrontational, argumentative person, and she just makes shit up. And she threatened to report me to Landstar corporate for backing out of the load. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to forward an email to Landstar Safety and let them know what's going on. This is absolutely insane. I'm never going to do business with this agent again. And this isn't even the agent. This is just some customer service person. This is one of those agencies that has employees. So you're not even talking with the actual agent or broker. You're just talking with some like telemarketing person that is going off on an ego trip. Like this is just some extremely arrogant secretary is what it is. But anyway, so how did this play out? Well, I got the load alert for this $13,400 load. It's not actually a $13,500 load. It's two different loads, and there's about a 4 day gap in between the loads, 4 or 5 day gap. You're basically picking up in Portland, taking stuff to a convention center in San Antonio, and then you have to set and wait for the convention to happen. But they said that you can go do other loads if you want to during that 4 day period, as long as you're back to pick it up. Just a second, I think this is the fire department. Hello? Yes, it is. Doing all right. Yes, to Seamless Solutions, and I'm a truck driver with a big truck with a 53-foot trailer, and in order for me to back into their dock, I would have to block the street, and I was wondering if that's legal. Well, Seamless Solutions, it's I was told that they specialize in lighting, and yeah, and I am it's Seamless Events, yeah, and I was taking it to a convention center in San Antonio, and then bringing it back after the convention. hmm I would have to completely block the street, and I would have to jackknife the truck. Like I couldn't even be straight in front of the building. It would completely block the roadway, and I would probably be out in the intersection as well. Um, it's a 53-foot trailer. The total length with the tractor and trailer is about 70 feet. Yeah. It's April 23rd at 1:30 p.m. Yeah. hmm Well, I so we're not going to need to do that. So what ended up happening was I told the broker that I was checking with the fire department to see if it was legal for me to block the road, and they got mad, and they started like making threats toward me and telling me that they have trucks in there all the time. And I said, all right, if you guys are going to act like this, then I'm just going to cancel the load and I'm not going to do it. So I've already canceled the load. They're going to have somebody else come out there at 1:30 on the 23rd, and they said that they have to remove a stop sign or something to be able to back in there. Like uh, you're able to pull the stop sign out of the ground, and they said that they have written permission to be able to do that. Um, that's what they said when I was canceling the load. They told me that they weren't sure if it was legal before that, but after I canceled the load, then they told me that it was legal and they had written permission. And by that time, we'd already crossed a point where I wasn't willing to work with them anymore. So I was just wondering at this point, since I'm not doing the load anymore, just for future reference, is it legal for me to block a road to pick up or deliver in Portland? hmm So that sounds like a permit situation. So so if you saw me out there just blocking the road and I didn't check in with you guys, you could write me a ticket. Uh huh. But a sworn officer could. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye bye. So she said that she was a cop, but she's not a cop. She said she's not a sworn officer. So she basically said that it's illegal, and yes, they can write a ticket. But she personally, if she came up and saw me unloading, that she would just stop and direct traffic around me. But she's not a cop. So yeah, they just told me it's illegal to block a street for loading and unloading. And they said that if I need to block a street for loading and unloading, that I should call the Department of Transportation in advance so that they can schedule traffic around me and have somebody out there to direct traffic. So, yeah, this is just a tremendous amount of drama. But what I'm going to do is let's pick up where we left off. Okay, so let's go through the whole scenario. So, load alert pops up, and I notice which agency it is, and I immediately knew, yeah, this is the agency that I recognize the agency. I remember agencies, bad agencies especially. But I knew who it was, and I called them up, and I cannot put into words how annoying it is to deal with this Amy Rogers person. She would just put me on hold without saying anything. I would just be in the middle of talking, and next thing I know, hold music. And then she would just pop back in and start talking again. So it was really difficult to talk with her to book the load in the first place. And part of my questions is I asked her, "Is this hazmat?" And her smartass response was, "Well, if you deliver event loads with us, then you know that none of them are hazmat loads." That's the way she talks to people. And I asked if it was driver load or unload, and she said no. And I asked, "Is there anything weird about the pickup or delivery locations? Are they really hard to get into or anything like that?" And she said no. We go to these locations all the time. They're easy to get in and out of. Um, and I said, "Okay, I'll take it." And then she sends me an email with the addresses, and I looked up. I verified all. Whenever somebody sends me an email about a load, I verify all the information on the freight bill matches what they told me, and I checked the pickup and delivery locations. And I pulled up the pickup location here in Portland. I haven't even gotten around to looking. I'm guessing the convention center has docks. I never even got around to that point of checking the convention center address in San Antonio. I just looked at the pickup address here in Portland. And it's downtown Portland. And it's skinny little roads. I have a whole bunch of. I don't even want to pull it up. You know what? Let me pull it up. Let me close out of everything. Let me pause this. All right. Um, just a second here. Let's go to this one right here. All right. So this is the business. Seamless Event Solutions. And let me zoom out so you can see where it's at. This is the downtown Portland area. What is that blue outline? What have I turned on It's the street view. How do I turn that off? That is so annoying. There we go. It was showing the lines where you could look at street view. But that is this is the downtown Portland area right here. It's very, very downtown. And this is the business, and I called them to verify where exactly I'm picking up, and they told me this specific dock right here. So from the back of the dock all the way to the curb on the other side of the street is approximately 63 feet. And you can see a car is parked right there. If a car is parked there, then it's only... it's not letting me get the precise measurement. It's letting me get approximately. It's approximately 54 feet. The trailer is 53 feet long. So I could not park if there's a car parked there. I wouldn't be able to do it. I would just be within a couple of inches of the car, so I wouldn't be able to do it. And they said that there's some stop sign that you have to rip out to be able to back into this place. I'm guessing it's this stop sign right here that you have to pull out to be able to back into the place. And the front of the truck, let's do a distance measure again. So the distance, the total vehicle is about 70 feet. So it's approximately 17 feet from the trailer. So that would be from about right here would be the edge of the trailer. Let's clear distance, and let's do another distance measurement. It'll be, the edge of the trailer would be approximately right here. And let's go 17 feet. So 17 feet would be right about there. So I would be right at the edge of the front of my truck being in the intersection. Actually, you know what? It's really hard to get an exact, if I'm lined up straight in there, that's really close. So I wouldn't be like way out in the intersection, but the front of my truck would be like right at the edge of in the intersection. So I'd be, if you can't envision it, I would basically be jackknifed. My tractor would be at a straight angle, and the trailer would be straight this way. I would have to do a jackknife back into it to be able to get into this place. And completely block Alder Street, and possibly have the nose of my truck out into the intersection right here. So once I realized I was going to have to completely block a street, that's when I called. Well, first I looked up on Portland's website, and it's a if you look up city codes, anything that obstructs a street is illegal in Portland. And I looked for any kind of exemptions for loading and unloading, and the only thing I found was either a permit or special loading unloading areas where you have 30 minutes. But you're not actually blocking the entire street in those special loading and unloading areas. Those are just like double park areas where you can double park in the street for loading and unloading. But anyway, let's go back to just me. Once I saw all that, so first I had to call the customer to verify where exactly the dock was at. And then once I verified where it was at, I was like, I don't think that's legal for a 53-foot trailer to get in there. And they said, well, we've had one trailer before. That's what the guy at the store told me, is that they've had one 53-foot trailer before. One. What the agent told me, Kelly, the telemarketer, the secretary, she said they do these loads all the time. All the time. And then my point of contact at the business, I think it was Rick, also told me that they've been doing They've been having 53-foot trailers come in and out of there for like 20 years. So all kinds of different information. I don't really care how many people have loaded or unloaded from this place. I'm not going to do something illegal. If you block a roadway, an alley, anything, then the fire department or police can give you a ticket. I've been in this situation before. I learned my lesson. 20 years ago, I delivered to a Kmart, and I had a special note on the Kmart that said you had to leave 10 foot in the alleyway behind the Kmart for the fire department to get through, or they will give you a ticket. And the Kmart manager yelled and screamed at me for 30 minutes because I was not willing to back straight into the doorway. They didn't have a dock, they just had a doorway at the back of the building, and we were using rollers to unload the trailer. And she wanted me straight into it so the rollers would go straight into the building. And I couldn't do that and leave 10 feet for the fire department. I had to come in at an angle. And she hated that because the rollers were angled and it messed up her whole system. And she yelled and screamed at me, and we've had people delivering here for decades. You're the first idiot that can't do it. You know, calling me names, everything. And I put my foot down and I refused. About 10 minutes into unloading the trailer, and we unloaded it at an angle. I told her that was like as far in front of the door as I could get. I was just barely over 10 feet clearance for the alley behind the store. 10 minutes into unloading, the fire department drove by. That's the reason I had that message, is they've been ticketing drivers. And they knew what the delivery times were. So they were coming through there every time we were delivering and giving drivers tickets. This was in Paradise, California, just north of Sacramento. It's a trailer park just north of Sacramento. So yeah, I've already dealt with this in the past. I know it's very illegal to block roadways. For the emergency vehicles have to be able to get through. That's the main reason that it's illegal to block roadways, is not just blocking traffic, you're blocking emergency vehicles. So if there's a fire that breaks out, the fire department won't be able to get to the back of the building, or they won't be able to get down this street because you're blocking it. But anyway, I don't care how many deliveries they've had. I don't care how many people have done it illegally. I'm not going to do it illegally. So that's what I told them was, they're sitting there just yelling. Amy was just yelling and screaming, arguing at me. And I said, well, I don't care how many people have picked up from here. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to do something illegal. But anyway, after I talked with the customer and verified the location, then I looked online and I found the city codes, and I couldn't find an exemption for loading and unloading. So then I called the fire department, and I had to wait on hold for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and I ended up just talking with somebody who had no idea how to answer my question. They were like, well, I'll have a cop call you back to answer your question. And that's what that callback was I got. And it wasn't from a cop. It was somebody that's not a sworn officer. I don't know why they had that. Like, I was asking a legal question, and that person right there could not answer it. She thought that it was illegal, but she couldn't say with 100% certainty whether or not it was legal or illegal. She just kept avoiding telling me whether it was illegal or legal. And she told me, well, if it was me, then I would just direct traffic around you. But she wouldn't give me a straight answer on whether it was legal or illegal. She made it sound like it was illegal, but she would let it slide for me. But that's basically what happened was, I was waiting to get confirmation from the fire department, and that's when Kelly called me back the first time and was like, what's going on? Because she emailed me and wanted to know if 1:30 p.m. on the 23rd was okay. And I said, yeah, that's fine, but I might need to cancel the load. Give me a call back. I missed your call, but I'm off the phone now. You can call me. And that's when she called me back a few minutes later. And then she just went off on me when I told her I might need to cancel the load because it's illegal for me to block the roadway to get into this place. And then I got a call back from the point of contact at the business that I originally tried to call. So whenever I tried to call the business to find out where the dock was at, I called my point of contact. He didn't answer. So then I called just the regular store number and talked with somebody there. And they're the ones that told me that they'd had one 53-foot trailer before, and it blocked the entire road to get loaded. And then after I got off the... No, it was before I got... before Amy called me. Was it before or after Amy called me the first time? It was before. It was just like a couple of minutes before I spoke with Amy. Before she called me back the first time. And Rick, or whatever his name is, the point of contact for Seamless Event Solutions, he was like, hello? I was like, hello, who is this? I didn't know who it was that was calling me. And he told me, and I was like, oh, I'm the driver with Landstar. And I told him that I had already gotten the information that I wanted. I said I tried to call you to figure out where exactly at the building I was picking up from. And I ended up calling the main number and finding out from them. And they told me about your dock at the back. And I told him that, it's... I'm trying to figure out if I'm able to legally pick up or deliver from that dock, because I'm going to have to block the whole roadway to be able to back into that dock. And he said, oh, yeah, we have loads coming in and out of there all the time. We've had deliveries for 20 years. I was like, well, yeah, but I would have to block the whole roadway to do it. He's like, they do it all the time. And I was like, that's fine, but I've contacted the fire department, and they're supposed to give me a call back. And if they tell me what you tell me, that it's all good, then I'll be there 1:30 on Thursday. That time works for me. But if they tell me that it's not okay, then I'm not going to be able to do the load. And he said, well, they're probably not going to tell you it's okay. That's what he told me. He said they're not going to tell you it's okay. He said they're probably not going to tell you it's okay, is what he told me. And then later on, in a later conversation with Amy, I think it was the second time she called me to just argue, she told me that they had written approval from the city to block that roadway for loading and unloading. That's not what Rick told me. He said that they're probably going to tell me that it's not okay. And I said, well, what I told Rick was, well, we'll just wait and see. And he said, well, if you decide not to do it, then let me know as soon as possible so I can find some other arrangements. And I said, well, I'm sure Landstar will be able to find somebody else to do it. If I choose not to do it, the agent will find another Landstar driver that I'm sure will do it. I'm just not willing to do something illegal. So if the fire department tells me it's cool, then I'm going to be there Thursday, and I'm going to pick that load up for you. If they tell me it's not cool, then I'm going to cancel the load, and they'll find another driver to do it. And he said, all right. And I got off the phone with him. And that's when Amy called back just a couple of minutes after that, and was just an absolute pleasure to talk with. You got a little snippet of what it was like to talk with Amy. And that was just her calling back for absolutely no reason at all. We'd already canceled the load. We were over and done with. She just called me to argue. That was her only reason that she called me just a few minutes ago. Whenever I let you hear, I'm not sure how much of the conversation you could hear. I tried to put the phone next to the mic so you could hear some of it. That was a completely pointless call. All she did was she called to argue. And she's making all kinds of threats to report me to Landstar for backing out of the load. She's pissed off because she's going to have to relist the load after she took all the time, the 5 minutes to assign the load to me. Now she's going to have to deal with getting somebody else to take the load. She is just so incredibly confrontational. The CIF agency, Amy Rogers. This is only the second agency that I've ever had to blacklist. If you follow my videos, you know the only other agent I've ever blacklisted was the DRB agency Elaine. I forget what Elaine's last name was. It was one of the first loads I ever booked with Landstar. It wasn't the first. It was like one of the first 5 loads I ever booked with Landstar. And she did a bait and switch load on me where she had me pick up a load in Salt Lake, and she kept telling me over and over and over again on the phone and in emails, call me as soon as you get loaded. And I was like, why? What is it? She wouldn't tell me. She just kept telling me it was really, really, really important that I call her as soon as I get loaded. So as soon as I got loaded, I called her, and she told me that I had to sit on the load for 2 weeks. Whenever I got to Chicago, it was going from Salt Lake to Chicago, she said I couldn't deliver the load for 2 weeks. I had to sit on the load for 2 weeks. Even though that's not what the load was. It was like a normal load. As soon as I get there, I deliver. I had a delivery appointment of just like 2 or 3 days from the time I picked it up. But she said that the customer did not want it on their accounting for that quarter, so they wanted to wait until the beginning of the new month to take the load in, so I had to sit on the load for 2 weeks. And I snapped over that. We went round in circles, and I ended up not sitting on the load for 2 weeks. I ended up doing a drop and hook at the customer. I have no idea what they ended up doing as far as their accounting or anything like that, but I got so pissed off. I think I got Landstar involved, and she ended up, I'm pretty sure I got Landstar involved, because Elaine basically stopped answering my calls, and she just sent me an email and said that you can pick up an empty if you find one around behind the back of the building. You can just do a drop and hook. But I will never do business with the DRB agency because of that one situation. If somebody is going to do a bait and switch, like if you break that trust with somebody that you're doing business with, you can't trust them on anything. You can't trust them to pay you. You can't trust them to give you correct information. If I have a complete failure of trust between myself and an agent, I'm never doing business with that agency again. I've had agencies that have almost broken that trust, like Trey Lee, the LEE agency, I think is his agency code. He has the Walmart account. I am that close to never doing business with him again because he did not pay me the contract minimum. And when I was in the cabs class, my last cabs class to renew my hazmat certification, there was only 4 of us in the class, and one person was a brand new person to Landstar, but 2 of the other people in the class had been with Landstar for like 10, 20 years or more. And both of those other guys, we started talking about dedicated accounts and stuff like that, and I said the only dedicated I've done at Landstar was the Hobby Lobby and the Walmart. And I told them about the negative experiences that I had with those 2 accounts. And the other 2 veterans at Landstar, they were like, yeah, we had pretty much the exact same deal with Trey Lee. He did the same thing to us. Walmart just ran you really hard doing little local stuff, and then they refused to pay you the contract minimum at the end of the week because you didn't do a whole bunch of miles. Like, how are you supposed to do a whole bunch of miles doing local deliveries in Dallas? What in the hell is going on here? But I didn't even blacklist Trey Lee over that. He's that close to it. I'm probably never going to run another load for him, but he's not completely blacklisted. But DRB agency and now the CIF agency, I am never ever going to work with the CIF agency again. If I ever hear that they got rid of Amy Rogers, then maybe I might work with them again. But a lot of these agents, like the people that work up at the front, they're friends and family and stuff like that. So this Amy Rogers person is probably a friend or a family member of the agent, or they've known each other forever, and she's probably going to be with the agency until they go under. So, and I doubt the agency's going under anytime soon because they have really good loads. Amy Rogers is just mental. I don't know why people are willing to work with her because she's crazy. Let's just stop right there. Like, you just heard a little snippet of what it was like to talk with Amy Rogers. And that little snippet, I kid you not. It was a completely pointless phone call. The load was already canceled. We had already confirmed that the load was canceled on the last phone call. She wasn't calling to confirm anything. She wasn't calling to verify anything. She was just calling to be confrontational and argue with me and tell me that she was right and I was wrong. And she was accusing me in the first phone call of just not wanting to do the load and just making up some bullshit excuse to not do the load. That's what she claimed I was doing in the first phone call. That's what it's like to talk with her. Like, I can't believe that she talks to people like that. And, like, at that point, so the way the first phone call went, in which she was accusing me of all kinds of stuff, is I was just basically saying, yeah, I'm just waiting on the fire department to call me back to verify. And if they say it's cool, then I'm taking the load. I don't have a problem with it. I want this load. But if they tell me it's illegal for me to block the roadway, then I'm not going to do something illegal for the load. And she just couldn't accept that. That's what I told her. I said, if I'm just waiting to hear what the fire department tells me. If they say it's good, then I'm taking the load. If they say it's not good, then I'm not taking the load. And she just kept going and like making all kinds of accusations and just being really confrontational and rude. And I said, you know what? At this point, let's just go ahead and cancel the load. I don't want to work with you. I don't think it's... I don't really see the point in waiting for the fire department to call me back at this point, because the way you're acting right now, I just don't want to do business with you. So I really don't care at this point what the fire department says. If this is the way you're going to act, then I don't want this load. I don't want to interact with you. I don't want to do business with you. Go ahead and cancel the load. That's what happened in the first phone call. And she just... highly confrontational. Let's see if she sent me any nasty emails or anything. Let me switch over here. Yep, she sent me an email. Oh, it wasn't a nasty email. It was actually a professional email. It says, it will be tomorrow before we can remove you and repost for recovery. Well, it is kind of a nasty email. So what she's claiming now by using the word recovery is basically that they're having to repower the load. They're having to recover the load because I abandoned it. She's using the word recovery. So she's basically... And she already threatened she threatened to report me to Landstar corporate. So she's setting up this situation now where she's claiming that I have abandoned the load and they are having to recover it. So yeah, her using the word recovery is very intentional, because she's basically saying that I abandoned the load and they're having to recover the load, which is not the case. The load doesn't pick up for another week. I canceled the load within like 2 hours of booking it because she gave me misinformation and the pickup location looked like it was illegal to pick up from. And then she just went batshit crazy on the phone, and I said, I'm not working with you. So I'm going to have to send an email to Landstar Safety, and I'll put in there the information about why I rejected the load, and I'll put in the email that she threatened to report me to Landstar corporate for backing out of the load. So a CYA to Landstar Safety on the load. But yeah, I don't expect Landstar to do anything about it. Landstar is so completely one-sided for the agents. Like, I've never had them like do anything on my side. Like, I've had agents that refuse to pay for stuff, like all kinds of things, and Landstar will not do anything about it. You know what Landstar does when you call them and say, hey, the agent's not paying me? They say, have you talked with the agent? You should give them a call. You want me to give them a call for you? That's what Landstar does when you have an issue with an agent. is they just refer you to that agent that you had the issue with. Why does Landstar take such a massive cut off these loads? I don't know. I'm not really sure. It's a $1 billion company. But that's what's going on with me. I thought that I had an awesome load. I was really excited about it. And then Amy Rogers went batshit crazy on me, and I ended up canceling the load. So now we're looking for a load again. And as soon as I end the video, I'll send an email over to Landstar Safety. So that's what's going on with me. A little ranting and raving. I know some people don't like negativity, so I apologize if you're one of those people that just cannot stand negativity, because this video is like negative. But I hope you're having a great week, and hopefully I'll find a load here pretty soon. I was hoping that I would get one of those Saya loads going from Portland to Memphis, but none of those loads got reposted. I'd be willing to bet that they're all canceling. I talked about that in one of the last videos, that LTL companies, whenever freight slows down, they just start canceling all of the over-the-road loads. All of the excess loads that they have over-the-road companies haul for them, they just all start canceling like the day before they pick up. So I suspect that's what's happening with them, because I'm not seeing any of them being reposted or any new ones being posted. But I continue waiting for a load. I thought that I had an awesome load. I was just about to make a video about how awesome, this load was. Basically 2 solid loads paying $3 a mile on the full rate. I was going to make about $2.10 a mile on these loads, gross to the truck. But it was going to be 2 loads back to back, exactly what I want to do. That's my thing that I do, is go between like the Portland-Seattle area and the Dallas area, just back and forth. That's what I do. And this was basically me booking 2 loads in a row doing that. And I was really excited about it. But I'm not willing to get a ticket. As much as I wanted that load, I'm not willing to get a ticket doing it. Because that ticket will be with me for years. And it could cause massive ramifications. So I don't want to deal with that. So yeah, I know a lot of drivers out there are willing to do illegal things to keep going down the road, especially whenever you have really that's the reason she's probably that confrontational, is she's used to being able to like bully people into doing things. There's a lot of people in the industry like that, is that they'll just bully you into doing stuff. Even the customer, whenever I told him that I was checking with the fire department to see if it was, illegal, he started like trying to bully me into taking the load. He wasn't nearly as confrontational as Amy, but he started like sighing. You know how people are like, we have people come here all the time. He started doing that kind of stuff. And that's, trying to bully you, trying to pressure you into doing something. Basically calling you stupid, things like that. He's insinuating that I'm being dramatic, or I'm whining for no reason. But I don't play those games. Once you have been through, like, that's the reason experience is so big in this industry, is because there's so many things that you're going to do wrong, and hopefully you learn from those mistakes without having extreme ramifications. So, there are times when you're going to get into accidents, or you're almost going to get into an accident by doing something stupid. You're going too fast on slick roads. Maybe the very first time that you lose control going too fast on a slick road, you roll the truck, and that's the end of your career. Or you get lucky and you have a near miss where you lose control and somehow you're able to just save it, and you crap your pants and you're like, I am never doing that again. That is what experience equals, is dealing with all these things, and hopefully you're one of the lucky people that doesn't have to deal with the extreme ramifications of getting into a rollover or getting a major ticket or some other thing like that, by doing something stupid. I've been really lucky in my career that I've done stupid stuff, but I've never had the extreme ramifications. I've gotten really lucky whenever I did something stupid. I've driven too fast on snow and ice, and I've had extremely close calls, and I do not do that anymore. I've had close calls in a lot of things, and I've been really lucky. The reason I've had a long career without any major accidents or tickets or anything is partly luck. A lot of it has to do with me just being a very cautious driver, but the reason I'm a really cautious driver is because of all the close calls I've had that I did not get into major accidents with. When I was a kid, I was an idiot in the way that I drove. Man, I would speed. Whenever I would go around corners, we had a little Ford Ranger, and I never had my own vehicle in high school, so I would just borrow the Ford Ranger whenever I could, and I would do the dumbest things. Going into the fast food restaurant, it was a manual transmission, and I would pop the clutch and just roast the tires as I was going around the turn. Just to show off. That was so stupid. I got incredibly lucky that I never got into an accident doing that, but I did that all the time, spinning out the tires on that little Ford Ranger, especially going around turns and stuff. I scared the hell out of people. Nobody would ride with me in the truck. There was one guy that rode with me, and I scared him to death. And he got out of the truck and he was like, "I'm never riding with you again." But yeah, we are the sum of our experiences, and it's not a finite equation, because we can choose how to let our experiences affect us. Somebody can have a really bad childhood and they can turn out to be a bad person. Or somebody can have a really bad childhood and they can turn out to be a good person. It depends on how you process those experiences and how you choose to let them affect you. So, I've had some very bad experiences and made a lot of dumb decisions. But now I'm an overly cautious driver because I've had so many close calls. And I've been in so many situations where people have pressured me into doing illegal things in trucking. I just don't do that. I don't play that game anymore. It is extremely common in trucking. It's not nearly as common now as it used to be, but it's still extremely common in trucking for people to pressure you to do illegal things. People to pressure you to lie on your logbook or illegally park or whatever. You're just, go ahead and drive down the road with it like that. I do still. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. Like, you see me driving whenever I pick up a trailer, like this trailer right here that I picked up in Terrell, Texas. It had the ABS light out, so as far as I knew, the ABS was non-functional, and that was all that I knew was wrong with it. Was that the ABS was out. I didn't know anything about the brakes because I didn't do a thorough check of the brakes. The brakes were there. If you would have just glanced in and looked at them, it looked like the brakes were fine, but they weren't actually connected to anything. And I don't do that thorough of a brake inspection that I caught that. So I didn't catch the brake issue. But I knew that the ABS was out, and I went ahead and drove it a couple hundred miles to a shop. That's not legal. I did something illegal. Why did I do that? Because I know that roadside mechanics won't work on ABS. They don't work on certain things on roadside calls. They won't replace a clearance light that's up at the top of your trailer. And I've had that conversation with Landstar before. I've had road calls out there at Maddox in Terrell, Texas, where I've had clearance lights out up there, and I've had various other problems with the trailer, and they're like, yeah, I don't do that on road calls. We basically just do tires and mud flaps and basic things on road calls. So, I've flat out, Landstar knows that you have to drive these trailers illegal. And I've had that conversation with Landstar before where I've said that, yeah, the Landstar has been the one that's told me that, yeah, none of the roadside mechanics that I've called will replace the clearance light up the top on a road call. And I was like, well, I'll just drive it to a shop then. And she said, and they were like, yeah, if you're okay with that, then yeah, that's what you're gonna need to do is just drive it to a shop to get that clearance light fixed after they get the tires replaced. So, like, even me not be willing to do illegal things, there are still illegal things that I end up being kind of forced to do. What's the other option? Are we going to have a tow truck come out here and tow the trailer to a shop? I don't know. But anyway, let's get off of here. I was in such a great mood whenever I booked that load, and now I'm in such a bad mood after dealing with Amy Rogers. I was so excited. And Amy just absolutely ruined me. I need to just space out and just forget about something else. I need to just completely forget about this situation. But I'm not going to be able to probably until I sleep. But I'm pretty mad right now after dealing with Amy Rogers. So hopefully we get another load tomorrow. We'll keep looking. So have a great week. Bye.